Hello friends, I am Neetu Jain. In this video, we will take up the topic of interpersonal communication. Effective communication skills are a critical element in one's career and personal lives. We all use a variety of communication techniques to both understand and be understood. Interpersonal communication is the process of communication which takes place face to face. In this process, the feelings, emotions, thoughts are being shared through verbal and non-verbal messages. It not only involves the message but how that message is being said through voice, tone, gestures and facial expression. Interpersonal communication is all pervasive, whether it is social or professional domain, and how people communicate in professional domains depends to a large extent how they have been communicating in their social domains as well. This is because a person's style and capability of effective communication depends on his or her worldviews, values, beliefs, attitudes to different stimuli. It also depends on personality and related psychological forces like self-esteem, needs, wants, desires, motivations, insecurities, etc. of this communicator. In organizations, the nature and quality of interpersonal communication will have an impact on employee relations, peer relations, sales performance, customer relationships, conflict management, public relations, and on organizational performance as well. Hence, effective interpersonal communication is extremely important for smooth functioning and running of all the functions of the organization. Now, let us see the communication process. Communication is the process of sending and receiving information among people. Sender sends the message, which is decoded by the receiver. Receiver then reciprocates back to the sender, and the message is again encoded by the receiver. And there is a feedback as well from sender to the receiver, and this completes the process of communication. Some of the most common ways of communicating are speaking, writing, visual images, body language, etc. We really need to improve our communication, as 70% of our communication efforts are misunderstood, misinterpreted, rejected, distorted or not heard. Now let us see some of the examples of interpersonal communication. These are handling complaints from the customers, persuading superiors to grant leave, comforting a colleague dealing with conflict, giving instructions for conducting complex tasks, persuading inefficient staff to work efficiently, convincing the finance department for more budget, coordinating with various agencies or communicating with seniors. Now let us see the principles of interpersonal communication. First principle is interpersonal communication is inescapable, means it is a continuous process and related with every aspect of life. Second principle is interpersonal communication is irreversible, that is, it cannot be retrieved. Third principle is interpersonal communication is complicated because it depends on who you think you are, who you think the other person is, who you think the other person thinks you are, who the other person thinks he or she is, who the other person thinks you are, and who the other person thinks you think she is. And fourth principle is interpersonal communication is contextual, since it depends upon psychological context, relational context, situational context, environmental context, and the cultural context in which it occurs. Now let us see the functions of interpersonal communication. Major goals of interpersonal communication are to gain information, to develop better understanding, to satisfy interpersonal needs, to establish identity, and to achieve goals. Communication involves three components: verbal messages, paraverbal messages, and non-verbal messages. Verbal messages are the words we choose, paraverbal messages are how we say the words, and non-verbal messages are our body language. These three components are used to send clear and concise messages and receive and correctly understand the messages sent to us. 7% of our communication is verbal, 55% of communication is tonal, and 38% is visual. In other words, 93% of all communication is non-verbal. Now, sending messages, effective verbal messages are brief, succinct and organized. They are free of jargons and they do not create resistance in the listeners. Non-verbal communication is dissemination of message through a medium other than speech or writing. Non-verbal messages are the primary way that we communicate emotions. It involves our postures, gestures and facial expressions. It may indicate that whether you are being confident or your handshake is firm or not, or a warm smile. So these are all forms of non-verbal communication. Paraverbal communication refers to the messages that we transmit through the tone, pitch and pacing of our voices. Suppose there is a statement, I did not say you were stupid. We can speak this statement in three different manners depending upon where we put emphasis on. First way is, I did not say you were stupid. Second way is, I did not say you were stupid. And third way is, I did not say you were stupid. So we have seen that a single statement can be expressed in three different manners based on where we put our emphasis on. So tone, pitch and pacing of our voice matters a lot. Now receiving messages. The person who receives messages, he or she requires good listening skills, because listening requires concentration and energy and it involves a psychological connection with the speaker. It also includes a desire and willingness to see things from another person's perspective, and it also requires that we suspend judgment and evaluation at that point in time. Some of the key listening skills non-verbal are giving full physical attention to the speaker, being aware of the speaker's non-verbal messages, and the verbal skills are paying attention to the words and feelings that are being expressed. Now let us see some of the barriers in interpersonal communication. Some of the barriers are differing worldviews, faulty perception, diverting, sender's behavior or receiver's behavior, stereotyping and prejudices, and gender differences. First barrier is differing worldviews. Worldviews of individuals largely affect the interpersonal communication. If the worldview of the mutual communicators is similar, the communication is likely to be smooth and fruitful. Second barrier is stereotypes and prejudices. Stereotyping is very natural to a human mind. Stereotypes and prejudices are major reasons of communication failures, more than that of wrong actions and ugly emotions. Third barrier is faulty perceptions. A person interacts, whether as a speaker or as a listener, on the basis of perceptions framed in his or her mind about the other person, and this distorts the communication process. Next barrier is gender differences. Due to different socializations and societal expectations, men and women tend to communicate in different patterns. Next barrier is diverting, that is switching a conversation from the interest of other person to the topic of one's own interest. It is diverting, and it happens when people do not possess the awareness and the skills to listen patiently and effectively. Next barrier is sender's behavior. Sender may not be able to choose the right word to say precisely what he means. And the last one is receiver's behavior. There are attention filters and emotional filters which distorts the communication process. Receivers are also easily distracted. People think faster than they talk. While we listen, we have a lot of spare time for thinking. So this distorts the communication process. Now the tips for effective communication. First of all, we need to maintain eye contact with the audience. We need to be aware about our body language, about our gestures, expressions, and we should clearly convey our thoughts, and we should also practice effective communication skills. So now let us see the Johari window. Johari window is a tool for effective interpersonal communication or for developing better understanding about other person or to improve interpersonal relationships. This technique was created by Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingham in 1955. According to them, Johari window consists of 4 quadrants. First quadrant is open arena. That includes those aspects of personality which are known to self and known to others as well. Second aspect or second quadrant of our personality is blind area. That incorporates those aspects of our personality which are not known to self but known to others. third aspect of our personality is hidden area. That is that aspect of our personality which are known to self but not known to others. And the last quadrant of this window is unknown area. That incorporates those aspects of our personality which are neither known to us nor known to others. So suppose we are confident, then it is an aspect of personality which we know and others also know about us. Suppose a person is arrogant and he does not know about it. So this is the aspect of personality which is known to others but not known to him. So this is blind area. If a person has number of fears or he is claustrophobic, then this aspect of personality is known to him but not known to others. So that is hidden area. And there are some things, there are some potentials which are not known to us nor known to others. So that comes under the last quadrant, that is unknown area. So to conclude, we can say that effective communication is a two-way process. It involves active listening. It reflects the accountability of the speakers and the listeners. It utilizes the feedback. It is free of stress and it is clear. Friends, along with this video, I have given you a self-administered questionnaire on Johari window. You can assess yourself on that and get your scores. Thank you very much.